Hey, Pat McCardle back with another episode of Shop Talk, where today we're diving deep on Polaris NorthStar. What it is, why you want to know about it, and why it might be the right vehicle choice for you. All right, so what is Polaris NorthStar? As we think about it, and you can see from the vehicles behind me, this is really the lineup of side-by-sides that we have that come with factory enclosures, right? These are climate controlled, so think heat and AC on most of the models, and they're really gonna extend your riding season. So not only are these machines good for days like today where it's not too hot and not too cold, but you're gonna be able to turn that AC on the days it's really hot, crank that heater up in the morning when it's a little cool, and you're going to be able to fully build these things out with all the bells and whistles you can imagine. Now from the factory, they also do come tuned up, so you get lots of additional things on these that you might not on all the other trims. We'll take you through that kind of on each model as we go. But you also have the ability to accessorize these NorthStar models to make them exactly the way you want them. And we've got a few accessories on these today, and we'll dive into those in a minute. So what makes a Polaris NorthStar special? You know, there's really three areas we want to talk about. Number one is the comfort. So think of the enclosure, the heat and AC, the seats, the suspensions, all are going to lead to a comfortable day of riding. As you think about premium features, right? Think about the cabs, think about the windows, think about the fact that you've got touch points that are all going to be at the top end of the spectrum. And the last is technology. So think about things like premium audio, Ride Command Plus on some of these. They're going to allow you to have just a great day out on the trail, or a good day doing work if you're, working around the property or on the farm. So with that, let's jump into the walkarounds on all three of these. All right, so we're starting off with the Ranger XP 1000. This is really the heart of the market, kind of medium duty application, right? This thing can be set up to do a wide variety of uses. So think everything from trail riding to property maintenance, to farm and ranch work, to hauling things, and even some towing. Overall, this is the most popular NorthStar in the Polaris lineup, and this is going to be the model that introduces a lot of folks into the Polaris NorthStar zone, right? Still premium. We've had 10, 12 years of learning, so we've had a couple generations to iterate and make this better, but it's a great all-around machine. Think of this kind of like the half-ton pickup of the lineup, right? You can do a lot of things with it, but if you're going to do super amounts of work, you might need to move up. If you're going to be a little more sporty, you might want to move over to the unit behind me, but overall, the XP 1000 is a phenomenal player and can do lots of different things for you. All right, so what are some of the top features on this Ranger XP 1000 that are different for the different use cases? Well, let's start with trail riding and hit on a couple highlights there. Well, up front, we got these awesome LED headlights. We got these sweet 29-inch tires with 14 inches of ground clearance, so plenty to clear trail obstacles. We got this nice 4,500-pound winch with the synthetic rope, so you don't have to worry about it, building up a bunch of tension. And the auto stop, which is also a great feature so you don't suck it in too far. Now, let's come around the back and talk about utility features next. And really, that's all about kind of the cargo box and towing. So when you think about this, we talked about this being the medium duty or kind of like the half-ton pickup. Well, this box is capable of holding 1,000 pounds. So as you look, it really is a half-ton from a cargo box capacity. And with the 2-inch receiver on the back, you can actually tow up to 2,500 pounds on this rig. Now, the other nice thing is it's actually got tilt capability. So if you load that box up, with gravel or mulch, you want to dump it out, it's really easy to do so. Now, thinking of accessories, right? You can also make this vehicle your own. So think things like these side view mirrors. We've got the bumper extensions on. We've got these lights built into the bumper here. But when we go to the inside, we've even got cool things now, like these accessory, sunshades that you can flip down so you're not staring at the sun all day. Now, the other cool thing when you think technology and comfort, right? I got great seats, easy to operate shifter. I've got 7-inch display with the Ride Command. I've got my throttle modes, my driveline modes, and best of all, heat and AC. Overall, tons of features on this Ranger XP 1000, but those are just a few of the top ones to know when you're thinking Polaris NorthStar. Now, let's move on to the next rig. All right, so now we're moving up to the Ranger XD 1500. So think of this as the biggest, baddest machine we've got in the utility lineup, right? This is kind of your Super Duty or your 3/4 ton as you compare against the XP 1000 we just talked about. Now this rig is going to be all about kind of the higher end, most premium things. So think big game hunting, big property maintenance, farming and ranching. Overall, this has got more capability. It's got more power, more quietness, frankly, more comfort than the XP 1000 did. And we've done a couple previous Shop Talk episodes that go really deep on these. So we're just going to touch on a few of the top features right now. All right, so as we think about some of the features that we're going to highlight, let's start out with some of the ones in the front we just talked about on the XP1000 here. So when we look at the winch, this one's actually upgraded. 6,000 pound winch, still has that great synthetic rope, still has the auto shutoff, but upgraded from a capability perspective with 6,000 pounds versus the 4,500. When we look at the wheels here, we grow an inch. These are 30-inch tires versus the 29s. We also give you a little more suspension and ground clearance from a travel perspective and clearance-wise. Still got awesome LED headlights up front. You can see we've got some accessories on the bumper, and we got these nice bumper lights here as well to highlight. Now let's go on the back and talk utility and work. So when we think about the box on this XD1500, it's actually physically larger than the XP1000 is, which also gives you more capability. So this thing can hold up to 1,500 pounds. So when you think Super Duty, think 3/4 ton, right? 1,500 pounds in the box. When we think about towing, there's actually another 1,000 pounds this thing can tow. So that tow capability is upgraded to 3,500 pounds on this XD1500. Now, I would show you the tilt functionality, but it's actually driven off a switch in the inside with an electric actuator. So let's move into the cockpit next and talk about comfort. Now, first thing I want to point out as I'm coming along here is this steel drive transmission. We did a whole other episode where we got into the details on this XD1500, so revert back and watch that if you want more details. But from a high level, this thing's got an upgraded 3-cylinder engine making over 100 horse. It's got this upgraded steel drive transmission, which is more capable, right? It's going to give you quieter operation because you can actually put it in a lower, quieter drive modes. You've got some adjustability there. And it's capable of towing more because of that as well. Super simple operation where you put your foot on the brake, flop it into drive. You don't have to worry about, you know, miss hitting low or high. You got one gear to worry about. From a HVAC and heat perspective, you've got 5 different zones that you can blow air to. So you've got panel, you know, floor end panel, floor only, floor end defrost, or defrost only. This is the only model in the Polaris lineup where you can individually select all 5 of those. All right, so one other thing you notice sitting in the seat here is that I've got a couple inches more of leg room. So this cockpit is actually longer on the XD1500. One of the other trick features is this flip down center console. So I got a built-in armrest, couple extra cup holders, slot for my phone. Makes it really nice if I don't have somebody sitting shoulder to shoulder with me here, that I got a little more space to hold things as I'm going. From a ride command perspective, we've also got a built-in seat heater on this Ultimate. So you can tap on the screen, scroll down, and you can get low, medium, and high heat settings on this. So the nice thing is, you think about those cool mornings where you go out and it's, you know, 30, 40 degrees when you start the day, but the sun comes up and warms up. You can actually turn the heater on, blow it at you. You can turn your seat heater on. As the day warms up, you can turn those seat heaters off, turn the air conditioner on. And if you even want some fresh air blowing at you, you know, you can tilt that windshield out and let that air flow right through. So overall, as I think about this, it is the most capable Ranger we make in the utility lineup. So think big game hunting, think large property, think farm and ranch. But overall, the quiet capability of this thing is absolutely awesome. And it's by far my favorite Ranger in the lineup. So with that, let's move on to the Polaris Expedition. All right, so last but not least, we got the Polaris Expedition. And this model has got to be one of my favorites in the NorthStar lineup. Because honestly, it's the one that I can take my wife and all 3 of my boys along for the ride. Yeah, I know I could fit them in the Ranger. Those are set up for 6. But in reality, this one's closest to my heart as being a RZR guy. So when I think of the Polaris Expedition, I think of it as like a RZR with a cab, or at least the closest thing we offer to that. The beauty of this is that we share the driveline with the RZR XP1000. So you get that 114 horsepower engine. You got a great CVT setup. It's tuned for a little more sport application than the RZR or the Rangers are, but still has a ton of trail capable features, right? So a 4,500 pound winch, right? Still that nice synthetic line, auto shut off. You know, we got 30-inch tires on this rig. We've got the nice Fox QS3s, so the quick select, so it's easy. You know, you can be like, you know, basically in the middle. You can go a little softer, a little firmer, depending on whether you're riding by yourself or with the whole crew. Great lighting package, great looks, but let's come back to the back of this, because this one does look a little bit different. So we do have an XP model that's got kind of a standard, you know, dump box, much like the Rangers. But the one we've got here is actually the ADV. So as we look at this, you can pop up the rear glass and you can see it's got this built-in rear topper on the back. So we get a nice cargo area in the back. And if you stay here with the camera, the other cool thing about this is that if I don't have all my kids with me, I can actually fold this seat down and I get a heck of a lot more cargo capacity. So what I think about this is, like, if we're going out for a weekend adventure and I want to go camping and bring my cooler and my spare gear and my chairs, you know, everything I need to be sitting around the campfire enjoying an evening after riding, you got plenty of storage room to do that when you've got this 5-seater, especially with that seat down. So there's tons of area that I can actually set this thing up for. Now, let's get up to the cockpit on this and show you what we got going on here. So unlike the Ranger's, kind of a conventional door swing on this one, you share a seat with a Razor XP, so it's really comfortable on the inside. We also have kind of different mode controls, so you got 4 different zones that you can blast that heat and AC through. Again, when you think about things like a tip-out windshield, you want some fresh air coming through, you can roll the windows down, get that rocking. We do have throttle modes on this, so comfort, standard, and sport. That's a little different. And driveline modes, this one also has the ability, like the Rangers, to have turf. So if you want to unlock the rear end for some tight steering, you can do that. But overall, you know, beautiful ride command display. You got really nice gauges right behind the steering wheel. Easy to operate. Everything's right in your zone of reach. So think comfort, think capability, think how you can customize this to make it your own. There's over 100 different accessories available on the Polaris Expedition. Again, we've also got the XP. This is the ADV, but you've got a lot of different ways that you can set up your Polaris Expedition in this NorthStar lineup. And overall, this has got to be one of my favorite vehicles for trail riding, especially if I'm bringing the whole family along for the ride. All right, so that's it for the short walkarounds we did. Just remember, we've done deeper dives on each of these models in previous episodes of Shop Talk, so be sure you click back to view those if you want more detail on any of the 3 here. But remember, as you think Polaris NorthStar, think you've got those awesome cabin closures, you've got heat and AC, you've got comfort, you've got convenience, you've got technology features, right, across the entire Polaris NorthStar lineup. That's it for this episode of Shop Talk. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see next time.